Hi, everyone. Welcome to Celtra Campaign Explorer webinar. We will give people another couple of minutes, maybe 2-3 minutes to join, and then we'll kick it off. Just so you know, I think it will not take us more than, 25-30 minutes to get through this webinar. So please hang tight. We'll start soon. Welcome everyone again to today's webinar from Celtra on our newly released product, Campaign Explorer. We are super excited to be presenting this new edition today. Today with you will be Ashna Kotari, our Senior Product Manager, basically the creator of this product, and she knows it in and out and will be able to give you a really good kind of overview and walkthrough through the Campaign Explorer. And also with you, myself, Vanya Berzin, VP Product Marketing. So without further ado, I'll run you through a couple of slides here, and then I'll hand it over to Ashna for an actual product demo, which I'm sure you're all really excited for. So what is Campaign Explorer? I think everyone has somehow been missing this feature in the past year or so, with more and more creatives that you're producing, more and more variants. Even with our universal banner, previewing sometimes has been a hassle. So we are really proud to present you with this new bulk preview option, a tool that will hopefully streamline your collaboration and approval processes and enable you to, preview all the dynamic creatives, banner sizes, formats, whatnot in one place with a single shareable URL. With that said, that one URL presents you with the single flat view with easy side-by-side creative review, so no more switching between tabs. You can make sure that you kind of compare side by side, that you can spot errors, that you can easily navigate and filter to review creatives across all products, formats, or sizes. You might only be interested in one of that category. Hopefully, this will enable you to kind of collaborate better, to be better at QAing, to be better at spotting maybe small errors in copy, in branding, or in CTAs should be always aligned, etc., which is now maybe a little bit cumbersome and time consuming, but now this new view will enable you that. You'll be also able to generate and customize preview URLs. So if you only want to, you've only changed a couple of creatives in your campaigns, you've already had, I don't know, the first 10 approved, but you added 5, so you can just choose those 5 and only share a preview link with those 5 selected creatives, but now to not cause a confusion, and reviewer and approval people can only focus on what they need to focus on. So furthermore, what we think is also very kind of important and powerful addition to Campaign Explorer is actually being able to preview all the dynamic kind of aspects of your creatives easily. So regardless if it's feeds, if it's rule-based, time, location, weather-coded, whatever you applied to your creatives in the production process, you can now compare and verify that they look and behave the way they should in one single view. That said, as I said, creative process, right, or creative review process right now has been, cumbersome. I've experienced it myself internally when we sometimes do, demos and a lot of creatives, a lot of different variants, and you need to, they're ready for review and you think you're done, but then you had to generate, I don't know, 10, 15 links, organize them nicely and neatly in typically it would be like a maybe online spreadsheet or in an email. And then the reviewer needs to open all those emails or open all those links and then switch between tabs to kind of compare and see, is everything as it should be, and then approve individual links. So now I think, it's quite apparent that that process will be basically cut down in 1/3 of what it was, where you just, creatives are ready, you select what you want to share for review, one URL, one copy paste, and one approval. So we are very excited, and we hope that you all will see this improvement in your day-to-day work, and save some time, and just be able to focus more on maybe the creative stuff. To sum up, what we envision that this product will help you is assure more brand consistency across your creatives, less errors once the campaigns are live. You'll be able to do that all ahead and easily amend it. Single URL preview, bulk preview, and then no fuss dynamic ads review. If you have any questions during the webinar, please feel free to use the chat panel. I see that we have some questions coming in, and when we'll address those at the end. With that said, this is Campaign Explorer. Hopefully you've opened it in your account so far already. And without further ado, I will pass on the torch to Ashna, that will take us through the product itself and show you all the bits and pieces that you will hopefully find helpful. Ashna, take it away.
Thanks, Vanya. Let me start by sharing my screen. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining this webinar, and let's get started. So the access point for Campaign Explorer is on the creatives list, as you see here. So if you want to preview entire campaign, all your creatives in your campaign, you can use the preview all button here. Or if you want to just preview only, not all creatives, but only few, you can select them from the list, go to actions, and click on preview selection, and that will open the Campaign Explorer view for only those creatives. So there are 2 access points, and depending on what is your review process, you can choose which way you want to preview. So for right now, let's click on the preview all and see all creatives in the campaign. And as you can see, Campaign Explorer opens in a separate tab, and it shows you all creative units across your entire campaign. This also includes any universal format sizes. So let's say, for example, you have a universal banner with 5 sizes. We take out all the sizes and display it here. So it's a flat view of all your products, formats, creative sizes. So basically here, you in the product filter, you can see basically your media plan, where your creatives are running in a much easier way. So let's talk a bit about the navigation. So we have on the header account name and the campaign name. Basically, clicking on the campaign name will take you back to the campaign creatives dashboard. And I'll go back, and then clicking on the account name will take you to the account dashboard. And from here, you can also go to single creative preview. So if you click on any of the units, you can go to the single creative preview for that unit. And if you have access to the account and the campaign, you can also go to builder right from here. So if you click on the name, it will open the builder for that particular creative. So basically, if a designer is working and reviewing Campaign Explorer side by side, they can use these easy links from the Campaign Explorer. So that's about the navigation. And then below the header, you will see what we call grouping and filters bar. So we have filters for product, format, creative, size. And then after that, we have filters for dynamic variants. So if your campaign has dynamic variants, it will display here. So for example, this campaign has 3 dynamic variants. So you get 3 dynamic signals. So you get 3 filters as shown here. So let's talk maybe a bit about sizes. Just a second. Sorry. So as you can see, you can see all your creatives of, for example, say universal banner, all sizes in one view, and send it for review and approval. So if I talk a bit about these formats, so if I talk a bit about these filters, basically you can filter in and filter out products, formats, creative sizes as needed. Let me go back to the previous campaign because it has more. So let's say, for example, I just want to review YouTube creatives, then I will filter out rich media and video. And you will only see YouTube creative, and then you can send this for approval. Same logic applies for all the filters. So, and what we have for default view is, by default, all product, format, creative, size filters are selected, but dynamic filters are opt-in on an opt-in basis. So for dynamic filters, only default variant is selected, and you can select more to expand our view, and vice versa. So so that's about the product and format, creative, size filters. And if I talk a bit about the grouping, so here you can see there are 2 groups, sizes and creatives. So, and both these groupings are can be used on based on what you are reviewing. So for example, the sizes grouping is, what it does is it groups all your creative units in your campaign by size and product. So here, for example, this is rich media, and they are 300 by 250 across all your formats, and below you have video, 300 by 600 across all your formats. So basically this is the size grouping, and this is helpful when you want to review, for example, dynamic variants. So for example, I'll just generate these views. Let's say I want to review all the dynamic variants of this creative unit. And for this use case, it's helpful to view by size grouping. But let's say, for example, I will go back to the other demo. And let's say, for example, I just want to review all my creative units or creative sizes in universal banner. Then I will switch the view from sizes to creatives, so that I can see all my sizes in under one grouping. And then, of course, further you can always expand your dynamic variants if you have from the creatives view as well. So you can see all your dynamic variants on top of sizes under the same grouping. So that's the idea behind the grouping. And if I go to another campaign, this is just showing more sizes in under one grouping. So all your sizes under universal formats are grouped under one grouping. So let's talk a bit about the dynamic filters. So dynamic filters, so if you're, like I mentioned before, if your creative is using dynamic variants, it is all displayed here. So unlike our single creative preview, you don't have to guess your way around which creative is using or which dynamic variant. or dynamic signal, whatever is used in your creative or creatives in your campaign, they are all shown here. So for example, if you notice, location is not used in this campaign, so we don't show it. So that's the idea. So I will talk about dynamic variants and the creative metadata together because it's kind of related. So if you look at the single creative unit, you'll notice there is some metadata with it. So for example, there is name at the top of the unit. There are what size it is, what format it is, ID of the creative, and then on the bottom right corner of each of the creative unit, you will see these icons, which are basically dynamic icons. So each of these icons represent one dynamic signal. So for example, this is time and the time dynamic signal, and audience dynamic signal, and then language. And this view is displaying all the dynamic variants that are used in or created by the designer in the builder. And you can see here, you can visually see side by side and even figure out or even point out if there are any errors very easily. So in this campaign, there are 3 dynamic signals used in one unit. But if you have, let's say, if I go back to this one, if I have this one just using audiences, so you can see there is only one signal, and you see right away which audience is referring to this unit. And here in the first 2, you will see visually the visual differences between 2 different audiences. So this is like it helps you compare and contrast units side by side. Going back to dynamic variant, I'll just go back to the initial view. And so initially, when you land into Campaign Explorer, the default view doesn't show you all dynamic variants. Instead, it shows a number on the bottom right corner, which says how many signals are being used. And if you hover on the number, it will say, okay, this unit is using 3 time signals, 3 audience signals, and 6 language signals. And clicking on this will generate all permutations and combinations of all these signals. So you can review every possible combination here. So if I talk a bit about the sources of dynamic variants, is basically if you created dynamic variants using relevancy, feeds, location tables, everything is displayed here. So for example, if this audience is coming from relevancy, this time is coming from feeds, and language is coming from feeds, they are all this. We don't care where it comes from, but it's all displayed as dynamic signals here. And in addition to that, if let's say you're using location from the feeds and location from relevancy all in the same campaign, we all display it under one dynamic filter. So let me show you an example of a location coming from feeds. So basically, here you can see this campaign is using 200 locations, and we display, so by default we don't show all 200, but you can choose to see specific variants of or all variants of coming from the location feed. So let's say, and as you can see here, we have the search functionality for if you have a lot of dynamic signals coming from feeds. So let's say, for example, I just want all units that are running in California. I'll just search for California, select all, and this view will show all the units that are just running in California, and you can review them across your entire campaign. So basically, this campaign has multiple sizes, all using the same feed, and you can narrow down your view and review it this way, and also share this filtered view and send it for a review and approval. I'll talk about sharing in a bit. but yeah, this is the idea behind how can you use feed variants in Campaign Explorer. This is another example where you can see how dynamic variants are. I mean, you can see visually how different are dynamic variants side by side across all your sizes in one view. And then additionally, if your account has studies enabled, and you are using studies in your study or experimentation and studies in your campaign, we also support viewing all the variants coming from studies in Campaign Explorer. So here I'm showing, so basically we added another grouping called study groups and a filter for studies. So basically, if you group by study groups, you can see all your study variants across all sizes. And this is all grouped by product and study groups here. And you can switch the views. So for example, if you want to see, let's say 300 by 600 study variants, then you can all see them side by side by changing the grouping. So it depends on how are you trying to, and what are you trying to review. So if I go back to my previous campaign, so I talked about the filters. Let me talk a bit about the reset button. So basically, let's say if I filtered a lot while I was reviewing units in the campaign, then if I want to go back to the initial state, I would do reset. Or if you are not sure what this view refers to, you can always go reset to the default view and then start filtering again. So that's what the reset button does. So you might have noticed all these creative units and have animations. Some of them have animations, some of them have videos, and we all pause them by default. So when it loads, they're paused. But if you want to play them, we have two options. So we have a if you want to play just one unit, you hover on the unit, and if there are any animations, they will start playing. But if you want to, let's say, play, and I can show you the same about the video. So video is paused by default, but if you hover on the unit, it will start playing. So you can just focus on one unit and see how the animations or video is built. So, but if you want to see all animations together, there is this play all control that is global, and that will start playing all animations that are applicable in your Campaign Explorer view. So basically it's playing everything together, and you can turn it off. And let's say you want to, so basically this play all option will play your animations once. So if you want to play it from the beginning, you can reload, and all the creatives units will reload, and you can start playing the animations again. So, and all these units are non-interactive. So if you have user interactions built in your units, you want to review that, you will need to go into the single creative preview to review the interactions. This view only shows the non-interactive version of your creative. So that's play all and reload. And lastly, let's talk about the share button. So basically, if you notice in the URL, it sometimes if you have a lot of variants coming from feeds or even relevancy, this and if you have lots of creative sizes on top of that, then this URL tends to be very long. So what we have here is, in addition of sharing this URL, we also allow you to to have the option to shorten the URL. So if you click on the share button, it will open a dialog, which basically shows you a shortened URL of the same view you were looking at. And you can copy URL to clipboard and then share it with your reviewer via email, messaging, any other form. And yeah, so we have this little helper functionality.
Ashna, maybe just a small comment there that if you're sharing it, via sort of messengers and like, I don't know, SMS,
Yeah.
It's only, you can only access Campaign Explorer on desktop at this point.
Yes, yeah, thanks for reminding. Yes, you can only access Campaign Explorer via desktop. So yeah, and that's the current limitation right now. But yeah, you can share via any social media channels or emails. And I think that was all.
We have one question.
Okay.
So you address the interactivity of units, that you need to use a single preview. And we have a question about, expanded states of expandable banners. Obviously, that is also, it refers you to a single preview.
Right.
But the question is if the Campaign Explorer will eventually apply to expanded states as well.
So we are planning on addressing those issues, so interactivity and expandable units as well. But like, at least for now, you will only, for expandable banners, you will only be able to see the banner unit.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any more questions? Feel free to drop them into the Q&A little tab that you can see at the bottom of your screen. We'll give it a couple of seconds. Otherwise, Ashna, this was it, right?
Yeah.
So thank you everyone for joining. We hope that you're as excited as we are about this new edition of the Celtra CMP platform. If you have any further questions after this webinar, feel free to reach out either to us directly or via support@celtra.com. And we wish you a nice day and happy exploring. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.